And hello and welcome to the Scotland. Oh no, sorry, it's Anglo-Irish Astro Geeks. By mistake. Yeah, I have been watching The Sky at Night Meets the Infinite Monkey Cage again, only because it was just so funny. But then again, that's what you get when you put the likes of Brian Cox with his team up against the eggheads from The Sky at Night. I think they've only got one egghead compared to two eggheads. Yeah. I think Maggie definitely qualifies as an egghead. Anyway, so without further ado, my name is Nicky Betts. I'm a fellow Astronomical Society, and
I'm Susan McKeown, Astronomy Ireland.
I'm Chris Woodcock, founder of Sussex Sidewalk Astronomers.
And I'm Josh Lee. I'm just
my right-hand man, so to speak. Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank
you.
It's been quite an interesting few weeks. Well, actually, it's been quite an interesting few months, because this is the first show we've recorded for quite a while.
Yeah.
And the sun, drum roll, has woken up quite spectacularly.
Yeah.
Solar cycle 25. I'm a ham radio operator, so I get lots of opportunities with this. Some of them actually I lose opportunities, because when the solar storms roll in from the CMEs, brilliant to see the aurora, but it can be a pain to be operating. Large amounts of signal, large amounts of noise on the bands. But it is what it is. Solar cycle 25, starting early too. I think that was quite impressive. Everybody expected it to start next year.
Yeah.
It's already ramped up. In fact, I took a look at some of the figures. It says I was just switching screens. Now, the prediction, this is what the interesting thing is, the prediction for 2024 going into 2025 is between 125, 126 solar flux units. That's F10.7 flux. Well, already it's gone beyond that. In fact, I'll put a link to this in the notes. January 2023, the average value was 182.7. That's F10.7 flux, solar flux units. The predicted value was 100.4. In fact, the range was supposed to be 85.4 to 119.5. But it's blown that out of the water. In fact, the most recent in February was 173.28. Slight dip, April was 161.7. But it's still incredibly more powerful than expected. Now, a lot of the data I'm using is from the NOAA and their space weather teams at SWEPEC. In fact, I want to put a quick shout out to Dr. Tamitha for very kindly tolerating all my questions whilst doing her course work through YouTube. In fact, a lot of the stuff for heliophysics is not really my cup of tea. I'm a planetary science guy, but I've got into heliophysics through the back door, really.
Yeah.
But following her shows, I do recommend people look her up on YouTube, because basically, if you want to understand what's going on and understand why all the current conspiracy theories, sun going to a micronova, which is physically impossible, only white dwarfs go micronova, and that is so far away in the sun's future, we ain't gonna be around. I've heard everything from Carrington, a mega Carrington event causing the Earth's atmosphere to catch fire, the ozone being wiped out, the magnetic field being wiped out. So I think I've pretty much heard most of the alarmist junk concerning the latest solar cycle. It's not as powerful as a couple of the previous ones, going back to 1972, where CME detonated sea mines. This is what gets me. Magnetic sea mines off the coast of North Vietnam. This is all in the public domain, by the way.
Right.
Were set off by a CME, a coronal mass ejection, hitting the Earth's atmosphere. And for ages, nobody could figure out what had caused it. And so a lot of the data, initial data that we use in space weather, came from the military. It's one of those wonderful things. Everybody complains about the military budgets, but the trickle down from the military is invaluable. These devices, cameras in them, they came from equipment designed for use on satellites in space to spy on our neighbors. Literally the CCDs we have on our telescopes, all of it is military trickle down. In fact, you can say that the best thing of that space program is if they invent it and they use it, it'll eventually end up in your home.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest examples is the CPU in your computer, in your laptop, PC, or MacBook, because they started life as a processor designed by Intel for the Apollo space program, because traditional transistor logic would have been too large, it would have been too much weight, and certainly the LEM would not have got off the moon weighed down with all that kit, all the circuitry. So NASA went to Intel to basically say, how small can you make these devices? How much can you cram into one area? Weight is our enemy. And they did it. The x86 processors, they're all from the space program.
Well, the space program, in fairness, has made everything smaller, lightweight, more efficient, because it's needed up there. Down here, we can have it bigger, we can have it slower, it doesn't matter. The space program, it puts you in a position where you absolutely have to. So they do. So with a result, we get the benefits here. And people don't realize that, the trickle down from the space program to your daily life, to our satellites, to our meteorology, everything, everything in your car, People don't realize, and again, I think we do mention it quite a lot, Nick, don't we, that the space program has given us a huge amount in our modern day lives, and a huge amount that people don't even see or realize, and then they say the space program is too expensive or it's costing money. It is, but it's also benefiting every single person. Well, I wouldn't say every.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox in Trafalgar Square, so to speak. Speaker's Corner is now shut. But as I say, what's happened is we've actually had aurora that were being seen not only on the south coast of England, but over in the continent. In fact, I think even in the other hemisphere, places like Malaysia, Singapore, all got to see some really, really decent naked eye aurora.
Yeah. So
one of the benefits of this solar cycle, so to speak, is not just the DX for the likes of me. It is the fact we are getting some spectacular shows that really get restricted to places like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Alaska, and Canada.
Yeah.
If people in Florida are seeing aurora, we've got a really, really good sun, and it's kicking out quite a bit of nice stuff.
Well, we had last Friday was on par with Finland and Norway and everything else. I mean, you wouldn't need to go anywhere to see stuff like that. I've seen an amazing panoramic from somebody in Achill Island, and you're just looking at it going, it's not real, but it's completely real, and it was fantastic. But I saw it here standing in my heart,
Is it? That was 1 week ago today already. That's gone very quick, right? But looking at the solar records at the moment and the current activity, it looks like we may get some over in the next week and maybe in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that.
I'm getting messages all the time from contacts of mine who are telling me they're giving me literally blow by blow the solar flares as they happen.
Yeah.
We're getting X-class flares. Now, back even 2 years ago, an X-class flare would have been a shocker. We were in solar minimum. It's beginning to ramp up again into solar maximum. So the fact that we're getting so many just shows you how active our star is. And what people forget is our star is a yellow dwarf star, but it's a variable star as well. Not as variable as Sun, but it has that little bit of variability, which is why when we get a really good solar max, and this isn't a strong solar max compared to previous ones, we are getting, in some cases, we're getting solar flares that if they were pointed at us, we would be getting Carrington events.
Yeah.
That's one from 1869.
Yeah, basically, the interesting thing is the last time there was a really good Carrington event, most of the technology we had to date wasn't here. The computer was still the size of a building, in some cases the size of a room, pretty good. We used landlines. Everything to communicate from A to C was through HF radio in a lot of cases. And that technology survived it. Now, the interesting thing happens is how much and how well is our current technology, our up-to-date stuff, going to deal with it? We don't really know. But before anybody starts yelling, we have the greatest reservoir of past reasonably up-to-date and totally up-to-date technology. It's not going to be a Stone Age. Our grids are now to the point in a lot of cases where they can survive a big Carrington event. In the old days, the idea was, well, if there is one, we've got to shut the grid down because the geomagnetic events through the Earth, through the actual planet, through the Earth itself, would be enough to destroy the transformers and overhead lines. That has completely changed. That is no longer the case. In fact, in reality, all you have to do is allow the transmission lines to be quiescent. So it's a case of expecting people just to shut stuff down for a few hours in order to allow the transformers and overhead lines to get through a strong geomagnetic event.
But Chris is a bit of a sunspot expert, you know. So Chris, yourself, you're pretty much a sunspot expert, and you take amazing shots. So
thank you.
If you'd like to give us a bit of your information.
Yeah, I was just thinking of what Nick was saying there about what they actually do with all the transformers and everything, and remembering back to the Canada event of 1989, I think it was, when they lost all their power for 3 or 4 days because most of their ground is granite, so their pylons and so on got absolutely blasted by a CME. Right. Okay, so they were thinking about the best ways of preventing it from happening for the next few years. And one of the decisions that electricians especially made was rather than shutting things down, like as you know, Nick put quite correctly there, was to leave everything on and turn more on so the energy is spread across the field. That way, you know, it's just not all kept into one area and zapping everything in a short period. So that was quite a good idea of theirs, you know.
Oh yeah, it shows you that how well, I suppose, we adapted to the new reality. Having said that, the sunspots recently have been very, very good. There was a whopper of one. I believe that one's actually rotating off the limb at the moment.
Yeah, 3664, the one that gave us that lovely aurora last week, is now out of view and gone round the other side. It's actually been imaged from a Mars probe. Yeah. Some of you may have seen that some of the pictures on Facebook. They're a little bit blurry, but quite impressive to see it's gone around that far over a few days. However, as I was saying to Susan yesterday or the day before, there is a possibility that when it comes around again, it may be as powerful. Some of these larger sunspot regions can last up to 2 or 3 months and remain as powerful as they start off. We also have a couple of more regions coming through. 3669, 3672, 3679, in fact, is a large region with a large leader spot, which is giving off at the moment M-class flares. Incidentally, you said about the X-class flares. Just yesterday, or day before, we got an X 8.7 from 3664, the one that gave us the aurora, as it was turning around the edge of the sun. So that is enormously powerful. It was the upper class of the X class, so to speak, almost as powerful as they can get. So yeah, I think personally that it will come round again, sort of like beginning of next month, 5th, 6th of June, and we'll have to keep eyes on it and find out what happens.
Is solar maximum the end of this year or the start of next year, or we're not exactly sure?
Well, we're looking at the sort of like middle of the first half of next year at the moment. Astrophysicists are looking at it there. But with the way activity has had its occasional fluctuations up and down at varying periods, so you can't really pinpoint a date. I mean, it may even be the middle of next year. I'm hoping for a good one. I mean, from what we've had so far, if that's not maximum yet, wow, maximum is going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be fun, yeah. I mean, last Friday, I think, just from speaking to people I know last Friday, my own daughter, who only lives 5 minutes up the road from me, you just can't believe what just cascaded down around us, and the sky looked like it opened up. It was just, you wouldn't be able to go and pay a holiday to be assured of something like that, you know. I actually know somebody who went to Finland, or no, Iceland, and paid the big money for the 5 days and saw nothing, you know. So
yeah, you've got to have the solar activity, you've got to have the clear sky, and you can't plan it. Really
no,
can't.
And it was a perfect storm literally last Friday with everything, with the clear sky, and I was just absolutely amazing.
Our sky was literally from wall to wall aurora. It was beautiful, and we looked on the website, and it stated that the bottom edge, the southern edge of the aurora, was going across the bottom of Spain, south of Spain.
Wow.
And we could see that looking south in our skies, because it's about 150 kilometers up in the sky above Spain. We're literally looking over towards it. It was amazing.
It's crazy. It's fantastic. But also, we got some amazing pictures into Astronomy Ireland, and there's a place in Dublin which is quite built up. And a man sent in a picture just on his phone in quite a built up, really light polluted area. And the picture was fantastic. And he couldn't believe it. He was like, I don't believe what I'm looking at, you know. So I know people are saying once in a generation. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping there's more, you know.
Oh, I think there will be.
Yeah.
I think there will be, and I think we're going to get the next one in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not normally one for predicting things, you might understand, but the way the sun is going on at the moment, and the M class and the X class flares that we have been having, I think it's getting itself tied up in one big knot. We're not getting any C class flares, which is good because they're the lower class of flares. And if we were getting those, I would be thinking, well, maybe we're going into a little sinking thing here with the sun's activity. But no, it is picking up, and it's picking up rapidly.
Wow. Yeah.
And the quantities of spots are getting more too. At the moment, we've got quite a few active regions. I think 10 or 11 active regions on the sun's facing disk, whereas a couple of weeks ago, we were only looking at 5 or 6. So it is picking up.
Yeah, it's nearly double. Like, you know, that's fantastic.
I think
sorry, go ahead, Nick.
I think the interesting thing is that the NOAA actually issued a G5 warning.
Oh yeah.
The sun, which is unheard. It's like hen's teeth. They don't give out G5 warnings for geomagnetic activity.
No.
Like I say, I watch the site on a regular basis for radio and stuff, because that tells me if I'm even going to bother switching on a radio. And you can use everything at SweepEC. Literally, there's 4 screens you need to see. One shows you where the Earth is compared to the sun, and CME coming off it, the solar radiation coming away from it.
Right.
So it's angled just right, we'll get hit, and we'll get an auroral display. And the other thing is the HF blackouts we recently had 2 blackouts, literally one after the other. Now they're only about 20 minutes in duration.
Yeah.
Think back, if this was the 60s or the 70s, the height of the Cold War, and we had a rolling HF blackout like that, you would have 2 groups, 2 blocks of countries who wouldn't be able to even talk to their own people.
Right.
In fact, one of the people, during the eclipse, I was at the online Zoom party with Dr. Sokov, and she pulled up her geochron, and it showed the effect. There was actually a CME during the eclipse.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it showed the effect on HF propagation as well, because you can see one of the best ways we have in the amateur radio world is using what they call FT8. It's a data link. You're putting a low power data signal looking to get as far as you can.
Yeah.
That tells you what the propagation is like. So it shows the effect the sun is having on the ionosphere. And everything in the southern Pacific dropped out. Literally, there was nothing for about 20 minutes. So, as you can imagine, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
But there are tons of ways you can really watch the sun. The visual, the optical area is just but one of them. You can look at it on radio. You can actually receive radio signals from the sun. You can actually work out the sun's heartbeat from its radio transmissions, and you can do solar seismology as well.
Yeah,
there's so much you can do. All right, everybody, either you're a dark sky astronomer or you're a daytime astronomer, or you both. But people forget there is tons and tons of ways you can enjoy solar activity just sat here.
Yeah.
I can be watching Soho, and I can watch the actual CMEs as they launch off the sun. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and the stereo one as well. So you're seeing it from 2 different views, so you're getting more of a 3D image of it.
So, and of course, if you're really, really clever, you can find a comet that way too. People think I'm joking.
Oh no, I've seen it done on the Soho images. Many sun grazing and sun crashing comets have been discovered that way.
Yep, and of course, I'll mention its name. ISON. Watch the demise of ISON that way as well. That one took a spectacular nosedive into the sun, literally.
Yeah.
In some respects, it was like Shoemaker-Levy 9. It was just a little bit more spectacular. I'm going to leave it at that because I'm good friend with David Levy, and I'm not going to get in trouble. But seriously though, this is a way to do solar astronomy without risking your eyesight. I think Tom Thompson or Tomlinson, he has the ultimate video of why you never look at the sun through a telescope. And I believe he used pig's eyes, and he actually used a heavy duty glove. And
I've heard about this, yeah.
Oh, I think I've seen this. Gross.
Nasty.
Nasty, yeah.
And it was starting to smoke, and he showed you the damage that could be.
And it only takes a split second too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It was happening so quick. Even with a damaged solar filter, you can still damage your eyesight.
Yeah.
And to think that people like Galileo would risk using even their versions of telescopes looking at the sun.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know. There's no warnings back then.
So one thing that niggles me about that, Nick and Susan, is when you see these adverts for telescopes and they say that they come with an eyepiece solar filter with sun written on it.
Yeah.
And I always say to people when we're out in the streets or online or anything like that, do not buy these. They're prone to cracking under the heat because they're right at the heat gathering end of the scope. Why these companies are allowed to get away with, making, let alone selling this thing, it's crazy.
I've got one back there.
Oh no, it's just, I was telling about the eyepiece ones.
Oh yeah.
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 I've got a Skywatcher refractor sitting just off screen, and interestingly, it came with an eyepiece. It came with a diagonal. It didn't come with a glass solar filter. So there are quite a few manufacturers like them. Orion do the same thing. I understand they will not sell you a glass solar filter. It seems to be the cheap and the scope you see, telescope you see in a box in a supermarket, promising you 4,000 times magnification. They're showing a picture of the Andromeda Galaxy in all its glory.
Yeah,
still not going to
we're
happen.
going to see. No, it's not.
Oh, the pictures on the box. I know
Too
people that
often.
complain about pictures on the box. They actually,
Yeah,
some
they
people
do.
assume you look through a
They do.
scope and you're going to see that, you know, not understanding that it's processed and stacked, and none of that happens with a small little scope, and especially your first time, you know. It's quite disappointing, you know, when you get a toy and it doesn't do what it's meant to do. Yeah, it's disappointing all around. Tell us a little bit about Sussex Sidewalk Astronomy, boys, and when you set it up and how many members and how's it going for you?
Okay. How long have you got? Okay.
As long as you want.
Initially, I was with another. I've been with quite a few societies. I've been vice chairman, and so on, and guest speaker for many of them. But I was with a group just previous to Sussex Sidewalk Astronomers, and the person who was the chairman of that group, so to speak, the founder of that group, took me to one side and he said he thought it was a good idea to get a bank account, start charging people on the streets and all this kind of stuff. And I said, no, that's not what I'm in for it for. I think it's only right that we were only there with the telescopes to help people to get into astronomy and show them the if-nots and why-nots of it. And he disagreed. So the following day, a few of my friends and myself decided on forming Sussex Sidewalk Astronomers, and here we are 2 years later. So 2 years we've been going, and we are at around 1,200 members now.
1,250 odd, I think.
Yeah, so we've not done too bad, and most of those members are in the UK, but we've got other members scattered around the globe as well. Not a word fancied by flat earthers, of course. But, no, I think considering what we do, I want to be able to get my head out the door after this, but we have done very, very well. We are very proud of what we've done. I've taken on a lot of people who have come to me in the streets and at talks and this, that, and the other. I've taken on Josh. He's learned a lot in the about 18 months that you've been doing this now.
Been doing it since last October, the October before
2022. So yeah, so about
just under 2 years.
Well, yeah, about a year and a half ish, give or take a day. But and he's learned so much, which is why I've got every confidence in him doing what he does for me in the group. And he's only just turned 16.
Oh, you have not, have you? Oh,
yes. The weekend before last.
One of the weekends.
May the 4th.
Very talented young man, fair play to you.
But he's done so well. He's done me proud, and he's helped us, you know, spread the word of Sussex Sidewalk Astronomers, gaining members. I mean, look, the amount of members isn't really what it does it for me. It's just helping people to learn astronomy is my main aim.
The amount of members is not, you know, priority in BVAS either. It's quality and sharing and people actually getting to know each other. And there's a lot of social side to it as well as sharing knowledge and all the rest. Because, I mean, astronomy and viewing can be very solitary. And sometimes that gets boring just by yourself, you know?
It can be. But, I mean, I sometimes like being in my back garden with my 10-inch Dobby and just doing what I want to do. It gives me a break from the norm, so to speak. But I love going out into the public, as Josh does with me, and you know, and other friends too. And people come over, and you feel what it gives you a purpose, so to speak, as an astronomical group. And seeing the expressions on people's faces, some of the things they say when they see something for the first time in the eyepiece. Some not
it's fantastic,
some not repeatable, but but they're that amazed. They're that amazed, and you think, wow, and it gives you that boost. You know, it gives you the feel that you want to carry it on.
Yeah.
If you're going to say something, sorry.
Yeah, like I've had a few people, like I've showed them, for example, what even just the moon. I've had some of the best reactions, and then I've showed people Saturn, Jupiter. I showed them star clusters, galaxies, and so on, and it's just some of the reactions. But like also going back to when we do meetups and show people what we can. Normally down the long seafront, we only get a good few passes, and up I think last Saturday we had a meetup for the Aurora, and we had about 200 to 400 odd people come up.
Well over 300 people, definitely. This is a large car park picnic area, which was absolutely jam-packed with cars. They were using the road around it for parking. It caused a lot of road issues. And we didn't get any Northern Lights that night. What we needed really was a burger stand and a nice cream van. Everybody would have been there. But we were there from 8 in the evening until 1:10 the following morning.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. It really was. And but that Friday night, I mean, there were half as many people, and it was a treat. And people noticed us. They noticed we got the telescopes, the cameras, and all that kind of thing. And that's how we get what we get.
And then there's word of mouth and everything else, you know, because I mean, where you live, people will be talking about it. And if you're visible down the seafront, literally people will walk past.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Dog walkers, little families, especially on, lovely, pleasant evenings.
Yeah.
Of course, we've got the lighter evenings now, haven't we? So we're able to do that much more solar viewing.
Yeah.
It's not a case of wait for work to finish and then it's get dark. It's wait for work to finish. I can still go out there and get my sunspots.
Normally, with when it comes to these kind of nights, me and Chris, we kind of battle it out, like who's the first who can get a plane transiting the sun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe your specialty, Chris. Yeah.
We've got some details of those.
Yeah.
So next.
Also, with the lighter nights, you can still image the moon and view the moon. In fact, a lot of people don't realise that you can see the moon during the day.
Oh, that's my favourite. I love finding the moon just when I'm out walking and just taking pictures on my phone, you know. And I mean, I'd be just like, wow, still there.
Well, I sent you one, didn't I, Susan?
Yeah.
You used it as your background picture for your.
Yeah, I did. That was last month. I used it as my cover picture. It was a beauty. I do. I have to say the moon during the day, even though we all know it's always there. When you spot it, especially if it's a little bit difficult to spot, it's just like, lovely, you know.
Yeah. It's lovely.
Again,
you can get a plane quick on it. It's brilliant.
I've only had a plane transit the moon, I think, once,
but the sun a few times.
Yeah,
you've got a few, Chris, as well. I've never gotten anything like that, but they look fantastic when you see them. Well, I've only ever had one solar viewing, and that was at the Barbecue with Astronomy Ireland a couple of years ago. So hopefully we might get one done in September.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Chris and Josh are coming over to Ireland in September and we're going to do a viewing and then a talk here in Drogheda for the BOINC Valley Astronomical Society. So fingers crossed everything works out, and really looking forward to it, lads. I have to say, I say fingers crossed that many times when it comes to anything astronomy wise, because you just never know with the weather or with anything. And people would be like, oh, the weather. I'd be like, just fingers crossed. You just don't know. But fingers crossed it does go well. If I say that one more time, you know.
It will go well, Susan. Be positive.
Oh, I am. Yeah. I mean, it's only
very good. If not, you're going to have to show me where the pubs are.
Oh, I'll tell you where the pubs are too, yeah. But we're going to do, Chris is going to do a talk on planetary and beyond, and then I might do a little bit extra then on exoplanets towards the end of it. So that's the plan. We'll get it done.
But, in that case, you want to watch the current sky at night.
I didn't see the sky at night this week now.
They're talking about exoplanets a lot in the current show. In fact, they've got a new way of discovering exoplanets. Everybody's used to looking for the dip.
The dip in the water, yeah.
Now that I can't remember what they said it was, because they were using the shadow. They're using shadows to find exoplanets, and it's still a new technique, and it's still evolving, but it seems to be very much quite a good way to do it. And of course, what they're doing as well is they're actually beginning to get a look at the atmosphere of some of them too. So if you're in the UK or Ireland, and you can get the BBC, go on to iPlayer and watch the current sky at night, because it does cover certainly discovering exoplanets in a completely new and different way. I found it very interesting, as well as the fact they are now, ESA is now building two satellites. One's an occulter satellite, and the other one is an imaging satellite. So they can actually create solar eclipses up to 20, I think they said up to 10 times a month. Something. So they're now finding new ways to do solar research instead of having to wait for a solar eclipse, a full eclipse. Everybody gets into high speed to do the research they want to do and do some of the experiments. ESA are about to be able to actually create a full solar eclipse.
How?
Or satellites, they're using two satellites.
Right.
One is in front of the other. One actually occults the sun, and the other one images the photosphere, etc., during the eclipse. But I say, Maggie went to the facility in the Netherlands. I think it's Red Line company in the Netherlands, for building the twin satellite for the European Space Agency. And it looks like it's going to be a very interesting way to actually get more and more heliophysical data without having to wait for an eclipse.
Yeah, without having to wait for an invitation to create our own.
Yeah, the scientists will be creating their own. So, as I say, it's all there, and they go into it to some degree. Obviously, it's a 30-minute program, but it at least gets you up to speed on what's going on in the professional science world. And to be honest, it's exciting.
Yeah, I also read a paper yesterday on the Goldilocks zone, which, by the way, I've never really agreed with. They're saying it's outdated now, and they're going to have to rethink. Because, I mean, you can't just go for the one area. You have to open your mind. And I also think the way they think of life, obviously, with just the liquid and stuff.
Well, the problem is the Goldilocks zone is different for every star. So if it's a red dwarf star, Goldilocks zone is much closer in. If it's a G2V star, it's 93 million miles out.
So, I know, but I'm happy to read stuff like this where they're starting to maybe move on and go, right, well, we're not going to just stick to this one thing that we think we're going to finally. I'm not saying don't use it, of course they're going to use it, but they're expanding it, and they're expanding what they're looking for, and they're expanding what they finally will agree where and what life and what life might be.
Well, Jupiter and Saturn create their own Goldilocks zones for their moons.
Yeah.
Which is why
they do. Yeah.
Can have be ice covered, but have a liquid ocean inside.
Yeah.
And that's also involves the tidal action with its planet. But as I say, so that is technically the Goldilocks zone of its own. So it differs. In some respects, Saturn and Jupiter are mini solar systems inside our own solar system.
They are, yeah. They're doing their own thing basically as well, yeah.
Well, Jupiter's a failed star anyway, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's not quite got the mass to be a failed star.
Well, it tries its best, you know. Nearly, but not quite.
If it had enough mass.
If it had enough mass, it would be oh look, we're on Tatooine. Look.
Binary system, yeah.
I still great. That line on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from when it's Portland, and the lead agent goes, "Are we on Tatooine?"
Oh, the two sons.
Yeah.
Would life of it be as we know? Would it be life as we know it if we had a second sun in our solar system?
No, of course not. Life is never going to be as we know it anywhere, even on our own planet. There's that many different life forms.
Sorry, we've just had to move so we can plug this.
Oh, no problem.
No worries.
Should be all good.
Yep, we can still see and hear you.
Oh, we've got the Aurora in the back.
There you go. Is that better?
God. Yeah.
There you go. We're here.
There we go. You're occulting the light nicely.
Oh, thank you very much.
But as I say, a lot of people don't appreciate what our star is because it had siblings in its own stellar nursery, But like most of them, it's drifted away. And it's very, very difficult in a lot of respects to decide exactly where and which stellar nursery our star was born in. Particularly as the solar system started to coalesce out, because that changed a lot of how the star moved. Now, I'm trying to remember something I learned about 5 years ago, because they actually figured out that stars, the solar systems going through the galaxy, don't move in straight lines. It's kind of like a helix.
Right.
Yeah.
The way they move.
Yeah, corkscrew effect going through the stellar line.
Yeah.
That's right.
So trying to actually just say this is where the sun was born is very, very difficult.
Yes, everything's moving all the time. Yeah.
But as I say, I wonder what they would have called Jupiter if it had been another star. I know that 2001 it was called Lucifer for a while.
Yeah. And then in 2010 as well, that was another good film, the sequel to it. Okay,
2001, I think, was when Lucifer was actually dying as a star.
Right.
And they Arthur C. Clarke postulated in the movies that at the heart of Jupiter there's a humongous diamond. Because of the sheer pressure, he's like a lot of other scientists believes that there is a diamond at the heart of Jupiter's core. Whether or not that's true is another matter. We know that there's metallic hydrogen down there, but could the pressure be that great it will form diamond? We just don't know.
And at the moment, there's no way of telling. The only way the astronomers can judge what kind of mass there is at the center of Jupiter's core is by measuring its orbit and distance using Kepler's laws, of course. With a planet that's made of gas of that size, the mass is difficult to judge.
Also, Jupiter has the 11-year orbit as well, and people have tried to match that up with the sun and the sun's cycle. But I don't know if that's true or not.
There's many ways you can look at that. I think I personally don't think that Jupiter can have that kind of effect. Not over like 400 million miles.
The
away.
distance,
I might be wrong. But then, saying about astronomers not being able to judge something, look at Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse in Orion is giving astronomers a lot of messing around at the moment. It's dimmed and then it's brightened. They say it's got its own weather because a cloud has formed out, puffing out of it and developed around the star, which is what dimmed it. And then it's opened up again to give all this brightness. But astronomers don't know the mass of that star. They don't know its exact distance. They're guessing at the moment as around 640 light years away, which means if they can't tell what kind of the actual distance, and they definitely can't tell the exact mass of the star, when it does eventually go supernova, they don't know if it's going to become a neutron star after it goes bang, or if it's going to become a black hole. It depends solely on its mass. So the heavier the mass, the more chance you've got of it swallowing itself and become a black hole. I personally think it would be better to see a pulsar, a neutron star, because that would be prettier at 640 light years away. A black hole, bit scary.
Well, our star eventually is going to go through the red giant stage.
It will
destroy the innermost planets as it happens. We won't be here. If people are starting to panic, don't even worry. It's so far in the future. It's
half a billion years away.
I will say one thing: when we do go supernova, they might actually get a flat Earth for a few minutes.
Yes. They'll all be out there. But
it may happen.
When the sun goes pop, it's not going to go supernova. It's just going to release like 2/3 of its atmosphere out into space as a shell, like the Ring Nebula M57 in Lyra, and leave a white dwarf behind in the center. And yes, it is going to engulf the inner solar system, and it's going to cause problems for the outer solar system as well over years because the outer shell will expand
Will expand
outwards
out,
and then just disperse over around 50 million years or so, and then it'll be no more. So yeah, all these stars have all their different, ways and so on. All the different masses mean different things for their future, and it adds to the fascination that we give to members of the public when we're out and about. People ask us questions like that. When I show them or Josh shows them the Ring Nebula through the telescope, and we say to them, "That's a dead star. That's what the sun's going to be like 500 million years-ish from now," and they're like, "Really? Wow!" And we explain to them, this is what a supernova is. This is the difference between a supernova and a nova. People don't get that. They think it's related, but it's not. And, there's so many different things that we can tell people and fascinate people with. And that's why we enjoy it.
Yeah, astronomy is such a wide subject. I mean, there's going to be something for everyone. Somebody's going to find an interest in something, So.
Absolutely, yeah.
I was going to say, I'm really going to shock everybody. I can remember Sidewalk Astronomy in San Francisco, 1983.
With John Dobson.
Actually, no, John Dobson wasn't there. It was kind of a letdown, really. But it was the San Francisco Sidewalk Astronomers.
Right.
Actually in Sunnyvale, where I was living at the time. And people, they had a couple of John's telescopes, and they had a couple of Newtonians and a refractor out.
Were these the homemade ones?
The Dobsonians were certainly homemade.
Yeah.
The Newtonians and the refractors began with the letter M. Mead.
Oh, bless them. Yeah.
Well, as I say, we went to the Skywatcher earlier. I've got a Celestron in the States, and I've got an Explore Scientific 16-inch non-go-to Dob in the garden.
No.
At some point, I've got to move everything. Back in the States.
It becomes furniture, Nick. It becomes furniture.
Sorry, I missed that.
I said it becomes furniture. I've got 5 telescopes in my living room, and one of them is a 16-inch Lightbridge Dobby.
Oh, I'm having to buy another 16-inch Dob when I go back to the States.
Yeah?
I'm going to get the Orion Go-To XS.
Right.
16-inch, because it's Go-To. B, I can run Ethernet to it from the house, because I have a place in Capital District, New York. Yeah. In the winter, we're talking minus 20 Celsius and snow and ice.
Pretty
lovely,
warm.
Lovely. Good still skies then.
It's pretty warm.
Yeah, warm.
That's why I'm wiring into the house, so that I can sit in my living room at my desk, and I can literally. Well, the only thing I probably have to do is go and open the dome up and close it. But I can do that. I've got crampons.
Oh, right. Okay.
But as I say, that to me, well, when I'm going to be in upstate New York, it's going to be brilliant. I have an urban observatory. I've got the Hudson River. I'm 800 yards away.
Wow.
So my seeing is going to be good. Everybody says, "Oh, you're in built up areas." Terrible seeing, but I've got a body of water nearby.
Yeah,
which really
nice, cool.
Yeah. And to be honest, I have to look in order to see Venus and the moon. I've got to look towards the river.
Oh well.
And I can get Venus going across the rooftops.
Oh, lovely.
In fact, it was funny back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Driving to work from Bedford to Milton Keynes, I used to go on the A422, and there was this bright thing in the sky, and I had the local radio on, and they were getting reports of a UFO.
Oh, right.
And I'm thinking, it's Venus. It's the right time of morning.
Yeah.
And it's in the right place in the sky. It's Venus. And I finally got through. I says, everybody's talking a whole lot of twaddle. It's Venus. What do you mean it's Venus? I said, it's the planet Venus. It's the morning star.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, you can call Patrick Moore and he'll tell you exactly the same.
They did exactly the same thing in 1977. Reports all over the UK of a moving bright object in the evening sky. It was on the news, and that turned out to be Venus as well. Crazy.
They're just not like Venus.
Well,
well, actually, segueing to Venus and go slightly further in, Bepi Colombo's in trouble. It's having thruster issues. It may not even get to Mercury.
right.
Could be a real disaster because Mercury is one of those really weird worlds. It has an exosphere, very small one, but it's there.
Mhm.
It's like the
Yeah.
moon. Believe it or not, people don't know the moon has an atmosphere. It's
Mhm.
so thin, it's almost negligible.
Yeah.
So that's why when you're watching the LEM launching from the moon, you'll see everything go up on the rover camera.
Yeah.
And come slowly back down again because it's the lunar atmosphere that's keeping it in. Instead of, unlike Alan Shepard Jr.'s golf ball, when he gave it a mighty whack and it went on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like space dig in you know what vehicle, which is now heading out towards Mars and the asteroid. Believe it or not, it is tracked by NORAD to this day. But it's one of those things. Getting people to everybody, the Earth's got an atmosphere. The moon, no atmosphere. Sorry, it does have an atmosphere. The sun has an atmosphere, believe it or not. Except I wouldn't quite want to be in it.
Have a holiday in the sun. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. Gives it new meaning. Going to the Costa? No, I'm going to the sun this year.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't know. It's good in such a way. It's good for astronomy that the solar cycle is picking up, I think. In a lot of respects. Because it's something. Everybody's used to people hanging out after dark around car parks.
So dodgy.
Hey, I went to the Priory Centre in Bedford. It's a park area. It's got 2 lakes. The river's on one side. You've got 2 lakes. You've got a visitor centre, and believe it or not, the car park is brilliant for doing astronomy from.
Yeah.
It's a nice big hedge and some trees screening out a lot of the town light behind you. So, yeah, they are great in some respect. In fact, one place I really do recommend if you're visiting the States in the autumn, early winter, is a place. See, this is I've lost the name of the place. There's a state park near Rensselaer and Albany, and it has got some of the most beautiful skies ever.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you how good the skies are. You can see M30 if you've got good eyesight. You can see M31 in the night sky, even though you've got sky glow coming from Schenectady and Albany.
Yeah.
You can still see M31 with your naked eye. It's just a fuzzy, but it is there. You need to see it.
I've had it pointed out to me a couple of times, but people definitely with better able to focus than me. They were like, "It's there, it's a smudge, but it's there," and I was like, "I see nothing." So
Thanks,
I'm just trying to remember the state park. Just a second.
What's the clouds do? Oh wow,
very cloudy.
Transit
is it very
not
cloudy?
gonna happen.
It looks like we're not going to be seeing the ISS transit across the moon.
You won't see the ISS, so you were planning to try and see it this evening.
We were planning to sort of catch it because we've got scopes kind of ready, but it's not going to happen. It really is not going to happen. I think I'm just going to settle for another latte and finish off my KFC.
Well,
but yeah,
out of my window, it is grey, high-level cloud.
Yeah,
keep it.
Yeah.
If this was Grafton Lakes in the States, touch wood, it may be a very nice starry night. later on.
Yeah.
That's the name. We just found out the name of the place again. Some of these state parks in America are wonderful for astronomy, and they have clubs that go there. They use the car park of the state park after hours.
Yeah, well, in BBAS we actually got permission to use that at the BOINC site here in Drogheda. So we've only had one viewing after hours. We get the keys and stuff, and it's a Vortal 3 sky. We did, we did our first one in February. It was the first time of our first meetup, and it was very cloudy. But this sky, oh my god! And we have at least 3 more times we can use, but we have had to talk to the what are they called? IWA. They're the people who run it, because it's it's public ground. But we got the keys and we just gave them back the next morning and made sure everything's tidy.
Okay.
But
is this going to be planned for September to go there then, or?
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, that's the plan. And then the talk will be in the library with
the Great Library, as you called it. Yeah.
So
I looked that up online. Very nice big place.
It's not that big. It's big enough now, but the old bridge site, like it was down to Sean, the chairperson, Sean. He got the permission. He did the talking, and having access to something that way. We're about 3 miles in from Drogheda, so you can still see it in the background, but it's not disturbing the skies. And we got to do some, the light art with the laser pens, and it was just fantastic. So having a site, having somewhere that you can go and do something like that it's an absolute treat.
Well, I remember the first time I went to Fielder before the observatory was built, and we're in the campground there, and came out. We actually had myself and some friends. We had we borrowed a caravan. I came out at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the sky was literally ablaze with stars.
Yeah,
so many stars. It was very, very difficult to actually find the constellations. That's how clear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even the dimmer ones stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the same experience in a little place just down from Cancun, Mexico. Went out for the turtle laying its eggs excursion at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was just thinking, I don't want to watch the turtle. I'm looking up at the sky. I was looking over towards Sagittarius, and it was just thick with stars. Absolutely amazing.
Well, we only barely get to see a small part of Sagittarius from the UK.
Yeah,
and it's not really
on the equator. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it's not really the best part of the constellation that we get to see. But you get to places like onto the equator.
Yeah, that's where my brother goes to Barbados. That's where he has one of his scopes.
Barbados, lovely.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know my brother's John McKeown. He actually brought one of his scopes over 6 years ago. It took him 2 days, and he's left it there. And he goes over and visits it he has scopes here as well, but he goes over and stays there for 2 weeks and does obviously a lot of viewing and a lot of captures. But he said it's just like looking at a different sky. It's just ridiculous. He said you're just watching it going, this is not real, So so that's what he does on his downtime. He goes and visits his other telescope.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, here's a question for you. If someone's interested in getting started in solar observing,
right,
how would you suggest they get started?
Fantastic question. Okay, when people ask us this on our little outings out, we always say to them that there are safe methods and there are unsafe methods, right? I first of all go through the unsafe methods in order to make sure that they're not going to do it, okay? Because safety obviously is a big thing. I don't want people coming up to me and saying, my little Freddie has just gone blind, he's ended up in hospital because you didn't give him that information, because we didn't have time. So I will fit that information in first. Then I'll go on to the safe methods, using what people call the safest method of solar observing is solar projection method. Have a refractor, turn the eyepiece so that you can project the image onto a piece of white card or paper or white wall. But personally, I think that can also be a little bit dangerous when you've got a lot of people about. Because if you're using the projection method onto a wall or a card a couple of feet away from the eyepiece, someone can just step in and look into the eyepiece. It can happen that quick. So I would prefer to use a front aperture filter, one that definitely blocks out almost 100% of the sun's light and heat energy. And definitely, as I said earlier on, not those eyepiece filters. I'll tell people about all that. And I will say, Nick, you said about the glass solar filters. I use a glass solar filter, which I've been using for 24 years, and it's still perfect. It's metallized on both sides, and it was made by Thousand Oaks.
Yeah.
It's a Type 2 glass solar filter, and it is amazing. But we also now use these new Mylar type ones that look like they've been made with a cornflakes box, but they've got solar filter. I don't know if you've seen those. The cheaper version for the amateur solar astronomer, but they are very good.
Well,
very, very good. Great for dobbies.
I've made my own solar filters using beta film.
Yeah, that's good.
And I always my rule of thumb is if there is a pinprick in it, bin it.
Definitely.
Get another piece out, make a new filter. And what I don't do is I don't use it across. I don't use the full aperture of the telescope, because a lot of my scopes, particularly my Newtonian, came with a dust cap that's got a smaller dust cap on it. You can take that off, you can put a solar filter on there, so you've actually cut down the amount of light that gets through to the mirror.
Stopping it down.
Yeah, so stopping it, it's effectively stopping it down.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I have 4 or 5 sheets of beta film. It is kept inside a large, heavy book. That way it doesn't get any damage to it.
No creasing.
And it's also packed in its original packings. It's never opened until I want to use it.
Yeah.
So basically what I do is I take a piece of plastic drain pipe, the same diameter as the stock aperture on the dust cap, and I attach it to that, so it slots on, and I make sure that it is a tight fit. So that way I know I've got to do a little bit more physical. Doesn't slop around. It's nice, tight fit, so it not going to get knocked off at a crucial point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't use the Mark 1 eyeball. I can safely use a camera. A DSLR will now be safe to use. It won't burn a hole all the way through the camera. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Someone's taken the dust cover off a telescope, aimed it at the sun, and their camera's caught fire. It happens. Or you can project it that way, but you can still get a satisfying solid image. You can see the sunspot groups. And if you're really feeling flush, you can shell out for the professional Mylar film filters, which will let you go into other wavelengths.
Yeah.
99.9% of us stay in white light because it's the cheapest way to buy the filters. Ooh, that is gone weird. I just vanished. I've been beamed up.
Are you using the force, Nick?
I must be. You can no longer see. I'm back. But as I say, these filters are not cheap if you want to switch wavelengths, which is why when you buy, there must be a Sith Lord around.
Yes.
Maybe we're getting a CME battering us right now.
Yeah. Well, but anyway, so yes, depending on the wavelength you're looking at, depends on the cost of your solar filter. This is getting really, really.
I'm enjoying this, Nick.
That's right.
I swear I have not.
Oh, wait.
Hang on. Let me switch the camera.
Susan, you're fine. You're staying there.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying my best not to actually try to laugh. It's very funny.
Oh. So yeah, you can do it that way. I guess this is what happens when you start talking about the sun and look.
It's very different. Yeah, I know.
Right, I'm trying to remember which one is my camera. Is that my camera? Hello? Yeah,
you
I know.
suddenly look different.
Yeah. Hopefully that will now reinitialize.
Nobody.
Oh my head.
Another thing that just to point out is we're saying about white light imaging for the amateur astronomer, but once people learn that they can see things like prominences and flares and so on with the gift of H alpha telescopes, and they are totally taken aback when they learn the prices of an H alpha telescope. I mean, the cheapest one you can get is the Coronado PST, and that's around £700 these days.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in euros, but
it's 875 euros.
Okay, so and then people will have one of these things for 5 years. They've only got a shelf life. The crystals in them that you reflect the same light through doesn't last any longer than about 5 years. You end up with getting dim images. You hardly see any prominences unless you do a lot of messing about and so on. And then you have
That's a lot of money for something with a shelf life. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It is. I mean, mine is more than 5 years old. My PST, and I hardly ever use it because of that. I've changed eyepieces, this, that, and the other to see if it's something different, but it does turn out that it's the prism crystal that's in it, which is unfortunate. So I'm going to have to buy a new one, I'm afraid. But and then the next one up, you're looking at about £1,200. So this kind of thing, to see the most fantastic parts of the sun, other than just sunspots and faculae, they're wanting to see the prominences and so on, but prices are getting in the way, which is unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
That is one thing about astronomy as a hobby. It can be expensive, especially if you're going to start investing in equipment and then you want to upgrade and stuff. But I have to say that that's the great thing about groups like yourselves. People are willing to at least point you in the right direction or get, sell stuff secondhand, all this kind of stuff, especially if you're starting out. It's great. And then you're getting the best out of what equipment you start with because somebody has more experience than you, instead of buying something that you're not ready for, that you don't really use, I mean, share the knowledge, that's the whole point of, I suppose, what we all do is to help anyone, share knowledge and, get other people interested, I think once you get somebody interested properly, though, they kind of get stuck for life. It's not something you just go, oh, this all right, no, if you get really into it, you're into it. End of story.
Yeah.
I mean, for what I use for my astrophotography, I just use just a normal Skywatcher star tracker, just a normal Star Adventure Pro pack. I think that brand new, well, not brand new. I think there's only about 250. The setup I'm looking at though is about 12.5, 13 grand.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Fair play to you.
That's not going to be a short-term buy.
Wait till your next birthday.
No, yeah. Times up by about 5.
Maybe for the next few birthdays, in a row.
All added together, I imagine.
Well, you're so young, you have time.
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to get into it, like into either the photography side of it or the viewing side of it, even, like you said, you just go off someone who's had like experience and see what they recommend. I mean, we personally, when it comes to recommendations, we normally head straight down the Skywatcher Dobsonian routes.
Yeah.
Because there's such good prices as well. Like they're not massively expensive, and they deliver everything you want.
Yeah.
So we can see pretty much everything. There's only a very few amount of things what we can't.
They are very good scopes.
I was going to say also that star parties and sidewalk astronomy meets are a very good place to ask questions about what is the right type of equipment to use for what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
For the moon, my non-go-to Dob is fine. I can just nudge it, take a picture, nudge it as I need to.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to be doing, if I'm being serious and I'm looking to do a long exposure, it has to be a driven telescope.
Yeah, absolutely.
And really, before you buy a telescope, I will go along with Patrick's advice: buy binoculars first. Because if you decide it's not for you, then you haven't wasted your money. However, you are bitten by the bug and you get experience. you need to decide what you're interested in. Are you interested in solar, planetary, comets, deep sky, or what? And then by seeing what other people are using for that, and actually getting hands-on, so to speak, then decide what equipment you really, really need. I think a lot of people get disappointed that they've seen the coffee table books with the beautiful pictures of galaxies and planets and stuff.
Yeah.
And when they actually look through an eyepiece the first time, it's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
The thing that really doesn't disappoint is always going to be the moon.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Definitely.
I think the one thing what people do get a bit let down is like you said, people see pictures and expect to see that through like a VR, like just one photo or just a glimpse through an eyepiece. Unless it's like you say, the moon or even some star clusters or pushing planets. It's just not what you see, like what you see on as photos, because behind that photo it's had a lot of editing and processing
and stacking and everything. And people don't realize that, and I think sometimes if you tell people that, they get disappointed and they're like, oh well, that's what I want to see, and it's like, well, you will be able to see that, but that's not the first thing you're going to see.
I mean, we've done a talk before where we've broken down everything into little pieces. We've just gone through the whole
step by step.
Smartphone astrophotography and even DSLR astrophotography and further. It's kind of the second we start breaking things down, people start getting like, whoa, there's actually a lot to it.
But it's a good challenge, isn't it? It's a challenge.
People like, we don't hate the what is it called? The little robot scope.
Oh, the
C-Star.
Yes.
I'm obsessed.
The C-Star, like, amazing. But what I think they ruin the fun. Like, you don't learn.
Right, but they also, for people who don't want the hassle, they're fantastic.
Perfect.
And easy to use.
Easy to use. Astronomy is harder for me. I'm only 5 foot. I have to look further. C-Star is tiny and it's movable around and all that kind of stuff. So for that reason, the other one, the dwarf one as well. For somebody in, say, my height without a car, I mean, you can go wrong, you know.
They are very handy gadgets.
They have their niche, you know.
I think with people
being they're quite good for solar work, I've found.
They have a filter. Not the C-Star, but the Dwarf Lab 2, I believe, has a built-in filter, or the one that at least you can put on. And I've seen some images from one of our members, Ewan Spear, which have come out fairly well. On the sun, with the sunspots. They're very good.
Again, they have their place, but what you're saying is learn your skies, learn everything, get the basic work in. The likes of the C-Star is a great hassle-free job, and the price-wise they're not too bad. But I know what you mean. Get into it, learn it step by step.
I think they're about £500, aren't they?
You can get one for just over 400 on Amazon.
It depends on as well. Online you get one for €500. But if you were to buy one from an actual telescope shop, they're over €800 because of the income tax. So I do know somebody who got one online and it was delivered within the week and it was fine. But then I know other people that booked online and didn't get it. So
have they been able to use it, or have you had too much cloud for it?
I haven't used I don't have C-Star, but I've watched the C-Star in action and I watched it stack at the.
I'm going with the idea of getting one myself.
Right, I want one. I haven't got one yet, but that's what I'm going for. But I watched it at the Star Party in February, and I watched it stack live, and it's so quick, but it's also fascinating to watch. It'll help on your phone and all the rest. So, and there was many other scopes there, but I was fascinated watching the C-Star, and I don't have much patience, so it's really fast.
I think also with people who are relatively new to it and don't know how to get started as well, they're massive, really big to help with. Like, it, even though you don't know like where it is, it takes you to it and you learn. So it's giving you that chance to learn where all these kind of deeper space and even closer to our galaxy objects.
It comes with its app, you know. It does basically do it for you, but again, some people
you're
prefer
learning
that, you know.
it's work. And then also alongside of where it's showing you where the object is in the sky, it's
Yeah.
also teaching you how to process it, stack it, and then it gives you that chance to further edit it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So and then with editing, I find like I like to do all kinds of different things with mine. I want to practice a few things. I want to try out different things I haven't done before.
Yeah.
And just to see if I like it or not. If not, I just normally stick to my basic edits and just get a post up on the group.
There's some pretty good results. So
yeah. You heard of Chris Lintott?
Yeah.
We went up to the Herstman Sue Astro Fest last year, and me and Chris bumped into him, and probably one of the best days of my life, admittedly. Hey,
hello.
And I showed him one of my Milky Way shots, and I think that's probably one of the best times of my life. So he's shocked with it because of how detailed it was.
Yeah.
He asked for it. I had to send Josh's picture of the Milky Way to Chris via email, and whether or not he's used it for anything we don't know yet, but he did say the intention was to do that, and it's one of the best Milky Way shots he's actually seen taken from the UK. So you were quite
fair play to you, Josh. That's fantastic. It's great to hear.
Yeah. I think that was only about a month or two of having a DSLR, so it's like it's not impossible to pick it up like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I think what I found pretty hard to pick up was the stacking and the whole processing. So I think
practice.
Yeah, and
it comes to you with time, doesn't it?
I feel like also having people who knows what they're doing is a massive help.
It's such a help. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to admit that I use remote telescopes a lot because of wonderful British weather.
Yeah.
And one of them, iTelescope, they have classes. They use Astro Pixel processor as the one that they use for everything and that they teach on. I like it. It's a very simple one to use. And the head of iTelescope actually did a webinar where he processed 2 deep sky objects that he'd taken using the iTelescope network. So you can get all the data you need. Literally, it's a subscription.
Like Flu as well.
If you're in a very clouded country, it's great to be able to just go online, set up an imaging run on the object you're looking for. Now, I did the Cygnus loop using not actually a telescope, it's a DSLR camera with a huge telephoto lens on it. It's in Spain, and I managed to get a wide angle view of the Cygnus loop. I was quite happy with it. I did minimal processing on it. I just did the 4 filters that I got, and I got quite a nice picture out of it. I was quite happy. The other thing is, of course, the great thing about some of the remote telescope people is you can just watch the video on YouTube again and again and again until you actually get the process stuck into your head. So the bonus is really you can rent the software for up to a year if you want to instead of buying. Right? Some of us buy it outright. Some people rent it for a year. After 2 years of renting the software, I committed to buying it because I thought it was a lot easier to use. And everything, once you've set everything up, it's all automated. I've used PixInsight and I got into a terrible mess. In fact, I accidentally deleted all my data doing that. 17 hours of solid data gone.
Frustrating.
Yeah, not half. But as I say, I have this video saved now. I can go to it. If I get stuck processing a deep sky object, I know what I can do. Dr. Christian Hess will take you through processing a deep sky image
Yeah.
And he will explain he'll even explain how you get the data.
Mm-hmm.
And that, all right, that to me is, if I was a newbie, that would be brilliant, because we're used to it. We know we set up our imaging runs and we go away. We leave our telescope systems to do it, because we know the end of the sessions, it'll all be sitting there on a hard drive waiting for us. We're spoiled. We know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody who's completely and utterly new to this, it takes you step by step. He will teach you how to do an imaging run, how to set it up.
Mm-hmm.
He will then show you how it's done. He doesn't go into picking the particular telescopes to use. Again, that's something I play with a site called Telescopius. It has the FOVs for all the iTelescope installations throughout the world.
Right.
I can pick do Eta-Carina. I can then look at the telescopes in Chile and at Siding Springs and make my decision, which gives me what I'm really looking for, how much I want to capture. So again, it's very easy to use software, online, and it's also now an app on Android and iOS. I don't think iOS is out yet, but it's certainly available on Android.
A friend of mine got into it, the remote telescoping during lockdown.
Yeah.
And she really, at first, was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. The stuff she has now, and that she's fixing herself as well, like, it's just unbelievable. So, I mean, they are a great option, and especially with the likes of bloody cloudy skies. I mean, how can you go wrong, you know?
Absolutely.
I think going back to what Nick said was about all-in-one, like it's everything what you need is all in one app.
Yeah.
I think if you don't have that, it's like, as you said, people who are new will find it very hard, because I still have to go through about 4 or 5 different apps or processing apps to at least get one image. So every time I do a shoot, I have to go through different apps. I need to like be able to stabilize my video. I need to split up all the photos, stack it, and then I then have to go on to edit it and then just tidy up a bit, and that's all.
It's a lot of work.
Even like I've done a shoot where I've had only hundreds of photos, and it's still taken like an hour minimum. So it's also very time consuming.
Time consuming, yeah, absolutely.
Worth it in the end.
Yeah.
I think one of the nice things is that a lot of the software for processing images is free now. That there's some really brilliant software out there. If you're imaging Jupiter or Saturn, called WinGPOS. That.
So what was that called, Nick?
GPOS.
GPOS.
Yeah. WinGPOS.
WinGPOS, right.
What that does, it allows you to calibrate your images for rotation.
Okay.
If you're imaging Jupiter and stuff, you can work out, it will help you work out how you need to move the various image files in order to stack everything correctly to get a really good Jovian image.
Yeah.
There's programs out there, I think GIMP is one of them, where you can stack all your AVI files of the moon, and it will get rid of all the dross, keep the best ones, and then you can get a picture like that. That's free.
With GIMP, it's basically GIMP. What that does, it's just basically a free Photoshop.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the stacking, because I use GIMP instead of Photoshop for my editing. But I need to like it. I think what the one I use to stack, depending on what I do, if it's multiple photos, I'll use. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. But when it comes to videos, I use Auto Stacker.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
For the Milky Way, I use a processor called Sequator. And I remember it now. For Deep Space, I use Deep Sky Stacker.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're free free softwares, really easy to use. I think the hardest one really was Deep Sky Stacker because there's so many bits to it what actually can push your image.
Yeah.
And then even when I'm done with all of that, I have to then go through another at least 2 other processes to like improve the quality of my photo and then edit it.
Well, I always put my hands up. I've been in imaging for quite a long time now. So for my home system, I've got Nina, which I can use with SkyTools 4. With SkyTools 4, I can actually set up my imaging run. It will give me a list of images a list of objects and times, and I can link it in. It links into Nina, and then Nina talks to ASCOM, and ASCOM through my computer talks to my telescope and my cameras. So with all that, so I can set up an imaging run. It will compile it into a program. It will then go onto 2 other programs, and then all I've got to do really is make sure that the observatory is open, and B, push enter and just keep an eye on the skies for bad weather.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the nice thing once you get really advanced and into it, and you can just set it so it can just collect all your data. Then the fun starts, because then you've got to start playing with all the imaging programs and actually getting the image. And a lot of people forget there are very, very few color cameras you can put on a telescope that will give you 100% perfect image. And most of those cameras are planetary and lunar. A few of them, you can push them to a point where you can do bright deep sky objects.
Yeah.
But after that, particularly when you're getting really faint and fuzzy, or you're going after a very faint comet, you've got to have a CCD, you've got to have a filter ring.
Yeah.
And good filters. Gone are the days where we could get out in the photographic shop, buy a packet of Kodak Watton filters and just bung it in, and everything would be fine. It's unfortunately, as the cameras have evolved, so has the standard of the filters increased and how good they got to be. I'm trying to make this bit. I know that we've got a bit of a time crunch coming up.
Yeah.
So really, as I say, this is something that you can really get your teeth into. And if you want to have some real good fun, you can download images from the Juno space mission and process them at home, and then give them to NASA. And they will thank you totally. They will put your name will go on the JunoCam website against your image, because they've discovered they've got so much data, they haven't got the budget to process it. The image processing. This is where the amateur astronomy community comes in and matches up with the professionals, and we start becoming part of their world.
Well, that's pretty much the sort of thing with Galaxy Zoo, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Project.
We're lucky. We can go on our telescopes any night of the day, any night of the week we want, whereas a professional has to book 2 or 3 years in advance to get one of the really big instruments. And once you've really got used to the kit and you've trained yourself to observe and record in the same way the professionals do, your data can be used in real science. There's people who are part of the AAVSO who do variable star timing for the Hubble community. If they want to look in a variable star, the members of the AAVSO, and I feel that right. I'm sure a few people will shoot me if I haven't. Never mind.
Association of Variable Star Observers, AVSO. Yeah.
So basically, you're doing the legwork to tell the Hubble team when it's safe to point their telescope, their multi-billion-dollar space telescope, at a variable star.
Yeah.
So if you really want to get stuck into get your name involved in science, this is the way you can do it. You can do it with Galaxy Zoo too. I do number crunching on Bionic. for a lot of the physics projects. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I get an email. Are you the NFX in, or mentioned such and such a paper? That might be. Quite likely I am actually, but I don't think they're trying to flog me the paper.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Whereas I can, because I'm still a student, effectively, believe it or not, I'm still a student. I can actually access it through the AVIX through my institution. So I can go onto ResearchGate and get the paper because I am a matriculated student. And therefore I can see exactly what my number crunching, my observational data has done for modern physics and astronomy. So if you really want to have fun, you can do that way. I know, Susan, we're going to get wrapped up.
Yeah, I've actually just got an Aurora, and there's an Aurora in progress at the moment here
Really?
now over Ireland. Now, obviously, we're going to have to wait and see if it'll still be visible at 11 when it gets dark, but it's in progress at the moment.
Yeah,
So,
well,
let's say clouds.
Well,
we're going to have to finish up, lads, because I actually have somewhere else to be. Yes, our wonderful company and everything else that.
Josh, Chris, will you come back again at a later date?
Absolutely.
of course.
yeah,
Brilliant.
why not?
It's been a pleasure to finally meet the two of you, and looking forward to working together in the future.
Next time, no technical hitches, okay?
I will put the number 2 camera up in place.
Oh, not just you, us at the start.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe I think what would make things a lot better is if I charge my phone.
It would. We're charging now. Cool. So
there's not many things to be charged and stuff. It's easily forgotten, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We will be bringing chargers with us in September.
Making sure, yeah.
We'll need at least 100 batteries for that thing.
I'd say, yeah.
Plus my camera battery.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing before we do go? Earlier on, we were saying about telescopes, the amount of telescopes we have. I've got 5 in my living room. One of them I said was 16-inch Dobby. People ask, how much do those telescopes cost secondhand? I got it for £20.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
My God.
I was very lucky. Some guys kept it in a shed for 5 years. It was going a bit manky. And they said, do you want it? Yeah, okay. Slipped them 20 quid and it was mine. It's still in my living room. Clean.
We got given a Celestron for the BOINC Valley Astronomical Society by a couple that were just lived out just outside of Drogheda. That had been sitting there for 10 or 15 years and never been used. It was left to them by their uncle. And brought it back. Myself and Sean went out, collected, brought it back. Sean cleaned it up, and it's working, and it's working fine. So that's our actual club. It's our club scope, you know. So, and that's for everybody to use to practice on and stuff. And it's old, but it's in perfect working order, and that was handed to us, you know. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Even when we went to collect, we weren't even sure what state or everything it was going to be in. Right. And we used it on our first night, our first meetup, and every single person who came had to go with, you know, setting it up again, you know, just the viewfinder and everything themselves. So we're just using it as a practice scope now for anyone who wants to, if they don't have their own or whatever else, you know, but it's great to have, you know.
That's a great idea.
You're saying about 20 quid. I've got a Skywatcher 102D refractor and the Skywatcher Mac 102T.
Yeah,
they were a gift, along with the mount from a very good friend of mine.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Can't go wrong there, can you, Nick?
I love it because I have 2 telescopes that I can put in the back of the car, along with the Skywatcher. I was out mount. Everything's Wi-Fi. I've got a nice ZWO Foundry camera, so I can literally grab the power tank, go out. Go somewhere nice, image, come home with it. My C10 NGT, that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
The only thing I've got to do is replace the gem mount, because basically the mount isn't capable of. It's brilliant for observational astronomy, but the mount doesn't like cameras. You consider that the actual OTA is something in the region of £40 alone in dead weight, and the total weight of the system is £95. Yeah. So, as I say, plenty of good telescopes out there. Lots more coming on the market since the end of lockdown because people are no longer interested. So there's always a good chance. Go to a star party, go to a sidewalk astronomy event, go to a reputable telescope dealer. Don't buy one from a supermarket.
Yeah.
So,
right, lads, listen, thank you so much for this evening, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. And it's goodbye for me.
And it's goodbye from him.
We've been watching the two Ronnies, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
Brilliant.
Good night, everyone.
Right, good night, everyone. I'm going to fly off because I have to be somewhere. So thank you so much. Okay, bye, boys.
Bye.
Bye.